Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. I'm literally just getting off from doing a workout, and so I'm coming to you with the fresh post-workout glow. I'm coming in here because today I want to talk to you about progress and how to measure progress, and we're going to talk about the paper towel theory. So I want to talk about this because here's the thing. When somebody embarks on a health and wellness journey, oftentimes one of the main goals that they want to achieve is weight loss. Now, I want to be more clear. We don't just want to lose weight. We want to lose fat, because weight loss also entails water loss and muscle loss. And I don't know about you, but I can't afford to lose my muscle, baby. Not at this stage of the game of my life. We're in perimenopause, baby. Proudly 46 and a half. I need to keep my gains. So we're going to talk about fat loss, because that's what the issue is. We need to lose the fat. We're over fat, right? And so I want to talk about this using the paper towel theory, because a lot of people, when they're trying to measure progress, what they're actually doing is they're using the scale. And if you're new here, the scale is a fucking liar. You cannot use that measure of data to determine everything, okay? So when I used to coach my clients for fitness and nutrition, what I would do, and for my own personal self too, when I was on this journey, and again, yes, I'm back on this journey because last year I suffered an incredible debilitating spinal flare that had me out of the game for more than half of last year, so more than half of 2024. I was put on nerve medication that actually made me gain 40 pounds. I'm in perimenopause, so my hormones are kind of out of whack, but now I'm proudly on HRT, and things seem to be regulating themselves again. And I just want to get rid of the inflammation. I'd like to, recomp my body, do some body recomposition, and lose that extra fat, because excess fat on our organs is really not good. So before we go any further, I want you to know that you are more than your body size. You are more than the weight on the scale. Ultimate and optimum health comes from how I feel in here, and how I feel in here, and how I feel when I'm moving my body, how I feel in and out of clothes, if I'm sleeping correctly, if I'm pooping, if I have energy. So I'm using all of the things, right? So these are some of the main things that you should be looking at, not just the scale weight. I've done a previous video talking about this, where if you're going to do this kind of stuff, to also, like, if you're using the scale, to also be taking inches and taking photos, because sometimes you can weigh the exact same thing, but you have recompositioned your body and your clothes fit different, but then you step on the scale and you're like, fuck it, none of this is working, right? And what that actually does is it's going to hinder your progress, because then you're going to get pissed off and you're just going to kibosh yourself, right? So I know, because I've been there. So this is why I'm going to start speaking more on this. If we're going to measure data, we have to take the emotions out of it. So we're more than what the number on the scale says. We're more than what the number on the inches say. We're more than what the pictures reflect back to us. Like, a photo can never capture your whole complete essence as a human, right? Can't capture your sense of humor and your love and light and your contribution to the world and how you love people and how people love you. Like, it can't, right? So if we're doing this, we're going to just take the emotion side out of it. We're working on optimum health. And again, optimum health is, as I just said, how I'm feeling in my mind, how I'm feeling in my body. Am I sleeping good? Am I eating well? Foods that feel good to me. That I'm not restricting myself, that I'm not in a constant war with the nutrition, like with my food and with my body. Like, optimum health is showing up and taking up space in my body. And body weight will fluctuate, as will body image. So you're going to have some days where you're like, yeah, I'm on top of the world. And then the next day you might feel like fluffy, or you might feel like frumpy, or you might feel like really not where you were feeling. And that's okay. Everything is a wave, baby. Nothing is linear. And so we're going to use the paper towel theory, because if you are on this journey, right, you're gonna see yourself every day. So when you're looking at yourself every day, it's hard to see the changes. It is so hard to see the changes. This is why I absolutely recommend taking the photos. I absolutely recommend taking the images, right? And I absolutely recommend really doing this biofeedback with, like I just said, how am I feeling? Do I feel like I'm energized? Do I have a sex drive, right? Or am I constipated? Am I moody? Like, all of that counts, right? That's all information, very pertinent information for this journey of yours. Now we're going to take the paper towel theory. This paper towel, if I start to pull it apart, it's a new rule. So yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for the YouTubes. If I start to remove, right? And this, we're going to look at this like a fat loss journey. If I start to remove and I start to remove and I keep unrolling it, I'm going to show you how much I've taken off now. Look at this. How many squares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've taken off 10 squares, okay? Or 10 sheets. Did the size of my paper towel actually change? Not to our eye, right? Not to the naked eye, right? However, had I taken pictures and taking it individually, you know, weekly photos, weekly measurements, weekly biofeedback, I would start to see a little trend. Now, in our society, especially with, you know, the extra peptides on the market to help people really release the fat and the excess inflammation. And listen, man, there's no medal for those who struggle the most. So if this is something that you're needing, I'm for sure going to do what's important to you, baby. Do it, okay? They are peptides. So if we talk about GLP-1s, they are peptides. Your body makes peptides. However, when we get to a certain age, in our 40s, our metabolism really switches, and that's something that I didn't really understand until I was there. Our metabolism switches and become more insulin resistant. So sometimes these peptides can just flick on the switch and help you. So I'm not against taking peptides. But if you're going to take the peptides, I'm going to really recommend that you are doing the other things. You're getting your steps in, you're managing your stress, you're getting your sleep, you're drinking your water and your resistance training, you're getting your protein and your fiber. Like, these are so important. Because if we're just taking something as a Band-Aid, then when you stop taking the thing, it's going to go back and then it's going to be worse. Okay. So all we're doing when we're just using peptides and we're not doing the extra work that needs to come with it, the lifestyle change and the identity change, right? Because the only way to change is through our identity. You need to shift the person to who you are. So you shift into the version of you that you want to become, and you start adapting those habits and those behaviors, and you take the actions that person would be taking. A whole identity shift, right? This is the cheat sheet for permanent change, right? So you need to be doing these things. And if you're not, what happens is, as you're on the GLP-1s or whatever medication you're using to help you release the inflammation and the fat, and you're also losing weight, so you are losing muscle and you are losing water, what's going to happen is your fat cells simply shrink so that when you go back to the other habits that you had because you didn't anchor in new habits, you're going to gain it all back and then some. So it's really, really important. So I digress. That was just a sidebar conversation that I think is important to be had. But if we bring it back to the paper towel theory, it doesn't look like I did any permanent change. Like, I didn't do any permanent change. So then I have to keep going and I keep going and I keep showing up, and it's monotonous and it's boring, and holy fuck, I'm losing motivation. And is this even working? And oh my God, this is so hard. And I'm like having a hard time. Now, if I show up in that energy, how apt am I to continue to do it? I'm not very apt. So I'm going to tell you another cheat sheet. I do not always feel like working out, but if you follow me on my stories, on my IG stories, or if you follow me on any of the social media platforms, mostly I hang out in stories, I do a mini hype session. What is a mini hype session? I play music that gets me in the vibe, right? I've talked about this on so many other of my videos. This is the cheat sheet code to permanent change. You need to put yourself into a state change. State change for me works when I have the music pumping. So I have a playlist. I have a hype song playlist, and I will play something that's going to shift the energy. So for me, Do I always feel like working out? Heck no, I don't. There are days where I'm tired. There are days where I feel sore. There are days where, right now, like I'm dealing with like allergies or something, and I have some kind of a freaking zit on the bottom of my nose because perimenopause. I don't always feel like it. However, I always feel great when I show up. I always feel great after I've done it. So this morning I had 1,001 things to do. Sundays for me are so busy, but I still made it a priority. I just got off a spin bike. I was like, I'm going to go spin for 30 minutes because it's going to feel so good for my heart. It's going to feel so good for my bones and my joints. And I feel amazing. And now I'm here right now with you in my car doing this video. And so I have to catch the thoughts that I'm telling myself as I'm doing the thing. So if I'm always a victim, right? If it's always like, oh, it sucks, I can't do anything, I can't eat that, I can't go there, I have to do this, then I'm a victim. So for sure, that's not an anchored pattern that my brain is going to want to keep doing. My mind is not going to want me to do it, and my brain for sure is not going to anchor it in. It's going to go back to the comfort zone, which is the known zone to the nervous system. And sometimes those habits are not serving us. And so what I have to do is I set myself up. So for me, I have my hype songs. For me, I like putting like those eye patches under my eyes, right? And I like getting in the vibe, right? For me, it's a little treat every day to have like these little eye patches under my eyes, and I'm doing a hype session, and I'm drinking my creatine and my pre-workout, and I'm ready to go, and I show up. And do I always feel like working out? Heck no. But I have an out. What I tell myself is this, to hold myself to a higher standard. What I tell myself is this: I'm going to go and I'm going to do a warm up. And if after the warm up, I still don't feel like being there, I'll do a 1 working set. That means if I'm starting with squats, or if I'm doing upper body, lower body, whatever it is, I'm going to do 1 first working set of 12 reps. And then if at that time I still don't feel like being there, I will leave. Ask me how many times I have actually left the gym in over a decade. Maybe 5 times. Maybe 5 times. See, sometimes I don't want to be there, and I have playlists, like I said. So I have hype lists, I have make me angry lists, I have make me cry lists. Like I have different kind of state change playlists from my Spotify in my phone. And I will just channel into that energy, and I will use that as a creative outlet to do the thing that I know I need to be doing, because I'm doing it for that future version of myself. And so I've left maybe about 5 times, like a handful of times from a gym after doing the warm up, after doing a working set. If it's just not happening, it's just not happening, and I leave, right? More than half of the time, I'm like, yeah, either I'm like really channeled into that anger and I'm going to go and get a really heavy lift in, or maybe I'm really channeled into that sadness. I'm going to go work it through with the weights, right? Or maybe I need to get out of my head. So I'll start doing like some high interval training or some running or sprinting to just really shift the energy. Because when we move our lymphatic system, we also move the energy. We move the emotions, which are energy and motion. We move that through the body. And I always feel so good. So bringing it back to the paper towel challenge, I have now removed so many. Look how much I removed. I have removed so much, and it still looks like I've barely touched the surface. I've done all this work, and it looks like I've barely touched the surface. So what we need to do, let me just fix this now. What we need to do is literally pay attention to how we're showing up in the energy. What's the language that we're using, right? Because it's going to look like nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a swoosh effect, which simply means you've been in the game long enough, you're doing it. See, the narrative in society is you're going to lose 2 pounds a week. What? And with all of these GLP-1s, we're seeing people drop so much weight in a month, which is taxing on your nervous system. Our bodies cannot do that. That is very stressful on a body. So I'm more of the go slow and low, be, the steady, monotonous, boring shit. You do it every single day. When I'm doing my workouts, I'm not switching my workouts up all the time. I do the same boring things all the time, but I train progressive overload. So I'm challenging myself in different ways. I'm either increasing the weight, or I'm slowing down the reps, or I'm adding a resistance band, or you know what I mean? Like I'm not jumping from this program to this program to this program, because that's not showing me any kind of progress. Right? If I keep bench pressing Eventually, I'm going to break that plateau and I'm going to be able to bench 100 pounds, 125 pounds, right? Whereas when I originally started was just with the bar of 45 pounds, right? So it's a progress. It's progress. It's patience. It's showing up and continuously putting in the work. Eventually, you'll have, like I said, a swoosh effect, which is all of a sudden everything's going to happen, poof, and it's going to look like it was overnight. And then people are going to ask you, what have you done? See, I just put up a reel. I'm actually going to share it here as a short on my channel. So let me know if you'd like to see that, where within the last year, so I had my massive flare up until August. I was on my medication up until August. And then with my professional guidance from my support, my medical team, I was able to get off of that stuff. And I started just training and moving my body slowly. This is why I started the 60-day challenges, which were to move my body every day for 30 minutes for 60 days. I ran that challenge twice. Since then, I have lost a little over 25 pounds, and it's not about the weight and it's not about the inches. It's about how I'm feeling. But yesterday, what I was doing was I was looking at all of my deadlifts. So because of my spinal injury, I need to be very mindful of how I interact with the weights and be very mindful and cognizant of like my body and time and space and everything so that I don't re-injure myself. And I need to keep strong core and back muscle and my glutes and my hamstrings to make sure my spine hopefully never does that again. And so what I did is I was just compiling old videos. And you could see the progress. You see my body changing. Like literally, you see my form change. You see the inflammation in my face go down. My body size changes slightly. And it's incredible. You see the progress. Now, if I would have just been looking at the weight, I haven't really moved on the scale in months. However, I fit my clothes so much differently. I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling stronger. My mind feels less stressed and less foggy because I'm able to channel the stress out of my body. And so basically what I'm saying is this paper towel theory simply means that eventually you're going to unravel it and it's going to get to be super, super small. And then everybody's going to ask you, what have you done? What have you done? I did it all. I kept showing up. Look at how much I took off. Look at how much I took off. And it still shows pretty much the same size. So this is what I wanted to come in here to really talk to you about is progress is all of the things. It's, am I getting stronger in the gym? Am I recovering faster? Am I sleeping better? How is my sex drive? How is the energy? How do I feel in and out of clothes? How do I feel in my mind? How do I feel in my body? All of these things matter. So as you're working towards your fat loss journey, I'm really going to help. I'm going to hope you take these tools and it switches something for you, because the scale means nothing in isolation. It means nothing. It means nothing at all. It means nothing. This is not who you be. You are so much more than any of these numbers. And if you want to measure true progress with true permanent change, you need to tap into an identity shift. And from that identity shift, you're changing the behaviors, the actions, and the results that you'll get, right? So you need to pay attention. If you're feeling like a victim every time you have to go to the gym, then you're doing something you don't want. So I'm not saying you need to go to the gym, although if you're a woman my age, you do need to be resistance training to some capacity to keep this skeletal muscle system in place, right? Keep this muscle and these bones healthy. But maybe for you it's dancing, maybe for you it's Zumba, maybe for you it's running, maybe for you it's swimming. Whatever it is, move your body every single day in some capacity. Don't focus on the calories burned either. That's one last thing I'll say. Please don't focus on the calories burned, because then that just becomes this whole cycle. And if you're measuring things, they're not always accurate. So, remove that. But this is the paper towel theory. Let me know in the comments below if this makes any sense, and if you would like me to share that short of my progression over time with my deadlifts and regaining my strength. And I'm along this journey right now, because I'm going to be going into my 47th year in September, and I want to feel the strongest that I've ever felt, and not bodybuilding competition body status. I just want to feel like myself again. I want to feel like I recognize myself, because as I said, in perimenopause, so one day I woke up and I was like, I don't even recognize myself. So I'm just being honest with you. Thanks for being here. Share this video out if you feel like it would help anybody that would need to hear this. And as always, be brave, be bold, be you. Let's take a picture. Good.